Good morning and good afternoon. My name is Derek Wazinski, and I am the Director of Sales for Parallels in the Americas here, and I'd like to welcome you to our webinar entitled Parallels Remote Application Server Introductory Webinar. The purpose of this webinar is to introduce you not only to the product that we'll be talking a little bit about, which is Parallels Remote Application Server, but kind of go into the process in which why we're in this space, why we're talking about virtualization, why we're talking about these types of things right now in 2020. The webinar is going to be in a couple different parts. The first will be kind of an introductory part about why we're in this space and why we talk about virtualization the way we do, how it can be helpful to you and your organization and in your own IT ecosystem. And then we'll go a little bit deeper into the product itself, talk a little bit about the features and functionality. We have some Parallels engineering folks on the call as well, so there'll be an opportunity for questions. If you've ever had a WebEx before, you know that there's a chat functionality as well. You can feel free to go ahead and chat questions to me, and then I'll have one of our technical experts go ahead and answer those questions for you at the end of the webinar. Again, thanks a lot, and we'll go ahead and get started. So what we'll be talking about here today primarily is Parallels Remote Application Server. And quite honestly, this intro presentation is really kind of to answer the question, why virtualization, why now? Virtualization has been around for a while. We all know about it. Some of our networks are probably already using it. Some of the people on this call are probably already using it. But this kind of deep dives into the questions behind why virtualization in 2020 is still relevant and why you should probably turn to it. And to look at the present, you really kind of have to go back to what I call the olden days when I was managing an IT organization, and that's back in the 90s, where you pretty much had a single campus or a single building IT environment. And wherever you had your IT personnel located, they would be responsible for servicing the people in that general geographic area. And of course, your servers were on-prem, and then all of your corresponding devices, which were most likely Windows devices, were on-prem as well. And for a long period of time, this was the environment most IT organizations not only worked in, but also developed strategies and tactics in order to go ahead and help their end users move through the system and move through what I call the IT ecosystem. Then, in the modern days, kind of post-internet, post-Al Gore inventing the internet, something happened. All of a sudden, our networks and our organizations got much larger and much bigger. And no longer were we just a simple IT department or IT organization handling a building or a campus. But we had users all over the world, and they had different needs. They spoke different languages. They needed different access to different applications. So even if we had all of those things housed in our central processed facility, our on-premises location, the access to that was completely broken up by the type of devices that they were accessing. It was no longer just Windows device or IBM PC-based devices that were accessing our networks. All of a sudden, we had to deal with Windows machines, mobile phones, smartphones, iPads, MacBooks. We know that here at Parallels very well. And then also all the browser functionality and the browser capability, that whole revolution brought up. So now we have users all over the world that have all different types of needs, that are using all different types of devices that we in IT are supposed to be able to handle and to help and to make them, provide them the capabilities to do what they need to do. Well, if you're familiar with this, you know one of the big answers for what we're calling borderless workers is what's called bring your own device or choose your own device. And this is the ability for you as an IT organization to allow your knowledge workers to go ahead and bring whatever device they want to go ahead and utilize the network processes. This is how you're able to empower your users to work independently and collaboratively, right? And whether you're utilizing an on-prem system or a cloud-based system, it's pretty clear that the future of interaction with what you do as an IT organization on a daily basis is mobility. I mean, mobility has already redefined the operating and engagement models for our IT organizations, and our IT end users are completely different than they were just 5 or 10 years ago. The future of corporate IT really means data, systems, and services, need to be able to be accessed anywhere there is connectivity. And that requires a necessity that you as an IT organization have to monitor and control that functionality and that capability to make sure it's not only secure, but it also provides a beneficial customer or end user experience for you. So someone who doesn't, someone who's looking at this from a 30,000-foot view says, well, that's great. Why don't we just go ahead and let them bring their own devices and let's just get it done. Let's just get it done pretty easy. Well, as you know, in an IT organization, it's really not that easy because you are dealing with a multitude of different challenges and different issues on a daily basis. And whether it be just simply, bring your own device, choose your own device, you've got big data concerns, you're being pushed by your IT management or your executive level or maybe even your VP level to initiate cloud-based services. You look at the news feeds every day, you have issues of security and data breach, Internet of Things is out there, all of these other devices and things are touching and they're touching your network and hanging off your network. And then you've got to deal with everything under the auspices of an IT budget that you're trying to manage. And then all of that is encompassed by the fact that you are now required to make sure your end users feel good about not only the job you're doing, but how they're accessing your network services and your resources, right? So this is the world that we as an IT organization live in on a daily basis. And we know, and I know, having been an IT director myself and having to deal with IT budgets, that to get an IT budget funded, to get something actually on the budget, you have to make it a little bit exciting. You have to make it exciting for the V level and the director level, saying, you know what, we're going to put our money where our mouth is and we're going to fund this particular project in order to bring this additional benefit. Now, the challenges of IT projects is a lot of them aren't really that exciting. I mean, we have some products specifically that handle little parts of networks and little things, and they're very segmented and they're not really that exciting. However, when you're dealing with virtualization and what it can accomplish within your organization, you really are talking about a really exciting capability that you can bring. Now, this is not just me saying this. Now, for there was a tech target survey that goes through and talks about virtualization. And virtualization has been around, as I said earlier, for a while. And if you use the Google machine, you can certainly see articles from the late 90s or early 2000s that talk about the power of virtualization. And the problem is, for the last 10 years or so, about 18% of CIOs have been talking about, yeah, maybe next year we're going to initiate a virtualization. We're going to expand virtualization. We did our servers. Now we're going to do our application, or we're going to do desktop as a service, or we're going to do something else. But it's kind of like an add-on. It's like, okay, if we get to it, we'll get to it. We've got these bigger fish to fry. Well, something changed last year because in this same study, which TechTarget has been doing for the last 5 or 6 years, the number of CIOs, the number of VP level IT people and personnel that were interested in virtualization shot up to almost double digits. And there was a primary reason behind this, and it's one word, and we mentioned it earlier. It's mobility. Mobility and the way people access data and information from the devices that they're able to bring have transformed the way my boss and the way our bosses are dealing with IT on a regular basis and dealing with IT projects on a regular basis. Now, you don't really have to take my word for that. I'm just some guy in a webinar. Forbes released a study, and we can provide you the link, that basically says 77% of corporate CIOs today are experiencing the disruptive influence of new mobile technologies. And even though these technologies have been around 3 to 5 years, they are just now starting to gain critical mass in their organizations, which means that they have to do something about them. And so what do they have to do about them? Well, now they have realized, according to Spiceworks, that the state of IT means they have to invest in virtualization. Now, this state of IT report from Spiceworks, if you take a look at it, it shows that security is a big deal, networking a big deal, storage is a big deal, and virtualization, there's a little bit of an increase, and it kind of sits right there. About 62% of the respondents said that investing in virtualization is currently important, and 66% of them said it was going to be extremely important. But if you again take a look at these labels, you're talking about virtualization. But if you look at security, networking, storage, software, hardware, cloud-based or hosted, training and development, mobility, that's all virtualization. So really what's going on within the IT industry is for the first time, and this is why there's this big jump when people are talking about the types of projects they have to initiate in, is the fact that all of this, everything here, all of these things that you're dealing with can either be addressed in whole or part by a valid and transformative virtualization strategy that you'll bring to your organization. So whether it be security or end user satisfaction or big data, even cloud delivered services, you can go ahead and work with that. Now, you may say, Derek, how is that possible? How can one particular project, one particular type of methodology or solution go ahead and provide me those capabilities? Well, let's take a look at that briefly. If you take a look at things like, and we'll just double this here, increased agility for the business and better resource deployment. Virtualization enables things like system provisioning and deployment within minutes, right? It allows you to clone existing VMs without hours and hours of normally installing a new physical machine. Companies that currently have virtual environments now, most likely my customers look back and cringe at the way they used to do it, where they had to wait hours for the operating system and applications to finish installing. And now what does all this mean? Well, this also means better operational efficiency. There's a meme out that it's been around for a while that humans only use 10% of their brain. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I'm not a scientist, but what I do know is that in most physical on-prem server-based environments, these heavily underutilized servers are only using 5 to 15% of their capacity. And when you implement a virtualized approach, the hardware utilization is increased because one single machine obviously now holds multiple virtual machines. Applications no longer need to run on their own server, and each virtual machine on the physical machine now runs itself. And this leads to, obviously, higher availability. This allows you to increase availability of your workloads by decreasing and reducing that planned downtime that accompanies both system maintenance and patching. See, instead of relying on the old model where it's one machine, one application, one server, that whole kind of one thing to do for the one device, which leads to underutilized resources, virtual resources can be dynamically applied to meet your business needs. And then there's no excess fat. Then you're actually using everything that you should be using, and you can take that capital expenditure, that CapEx, and burn it on other projects that you go ahead and want to. Well, let's talk a little bit about things like disaster recovery. You know, probably one of the greatest benefits of virtualization is literally the capability it takes to move a virtual machine from one device to another quickly and safely. The old days of backup tapes, the old day of I remember IT, all those things where you had to do backing up critical data is now done quickly and effectively because you can effortlessly create a replication site. Now, most enterprise virtualization platforms, provide you this capability during a disaster, but creating the methodology and creating the strategy in order to get this done is is much easier when you've virtualized. All I would say is try to achieve what you want to do with a virtualized system with disaster recovery with a physical system. And in the old days, back in the 80s and 90s, that's what we used to do with hot sites and those types of things and cold sites. And it's much easier functionality now. Let's talk about enhanced security. We won't even talk about virtualized servers. Let's just talk about virtualized desktops. When you virtualize a desktop, the actual data doesn't reside on the machine. It resides in the data center, in the remote servers. And you all know, because of data being centralized, it's easier to detect and isolate both viruses and threats before they cause damage. I'm sure everybody on the call here is incredibly aware of the challenges with dealing with breach and dealing with nefarious agents trying to gain access to your IT information and to your data. So because the data is centralized and the virtual machines, when you build them, they're built behind these strong firewalls, your team can manage usage and reduce potential risks. The centralized control always provides this, gives you better application activity monitoring as well. all of this turns into something that's really a hot button issue for many organizations, not only IT, is being green, is reducing energy consumption. Literally, if you're in the old days when you have these machines and they're only using 5 to 10 or 15% of their capacity and you have multiple machines running multiple applications, I mean, you're burning a lot of daylight and you're burning a lot of power. Among among virtualization benefits is by migrating to these virtual machines, you can consolidate them on if you have the physical servers, on fewer physical servers. The cooling and the power costs are significantly reduced, which means not only will you be quote unquote going green, but you'll also be saving a lot of green as well. And this is the capex that you can spend elsewhere on other projects. Now, when you put all of this together and you virtualize, what one of the benefits is 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 getting you ready for what's coming next, which is the cloud. And I call it preparation for the cloud. Listen, to put it simply, virtualization is a technology, but cloud is an environment. If you've already migrated to a virtualized infrastructure, you can create a cloud by pooling virtual resources together and orchestrating them using your management and automation software, therefore creating a self-service portal for your users. So all of this, when you incorporate into it, makes you a hero in front of your end users. And the reasoning behind that is very simple. The greatest benefit that virtualization can provide any network is end user satisfaction. And you may say, well, that's kind of putting it on a little thick. I can remind those of you that have been in IT for a number of years, the way we used to be measured in IT, whether it be managing trouble tickets, making sure that application uptimes, we had all these metrics that were developed from an IT basis to specifically measure whether or not we as an IT organization are doing our jobs well. That's all changed in the last couple of years, and I'm probably not telling you something you already don't know. C-level and VP level IT leaders are interested in end user satisfaction. And there's a specific reason for that. Because when an end user is satisfied, when they're happy like this individual and they're using the device of their choice to access your applications in your network, they'll work an additional 240 hours a year. And since most of them are knowledge workers and they're based on salary, that's just benefit for the organization and the company. This is real dollars. This can be 5 to 10, $10,000 extra per employee that an organization is getting out of salaried knowledge workers. And that's relatively important to a company's bottom line. I mean, make no mistake, we all work for companies and organizations whose bottom line is to make money. So if you as an IT organization can show that you're actually adding value, that's a net benefit for yourself. Talent. I'm a Gen Xer. I'm an older Gen Xer. I turned 50 years old last year. 75% of my team are millennials, and 75% of the customers that I talk to are millennials. And 69% of them believe that regular office attendance is unnecessary. So why would I construct an architecture or an infrastructure that would require someone to come into a physical location to access information? Just doesn't make any sense nowadays anymore. And so in the global environment that we live in, we need to come up with technologies and methodologies that allow us to go ahead and have those end users access that. And in the end, what this does is this gives you what I call a thumbs up for IT. And what does that mean? There are now customer satisfaction scores and net promoter scores and things like customer effort scores that IT organizations are rated on. No longer is the question, did the ticket get closed? Did the problem get solved? Can the person print? Did the application run? The question many IT organizations are asking their end users after an interaction with IT is, did the IT org make it easy for you to do your job? And that's the question that many of us are being measured on. So by providing this capability where it's almost effortless for the end user to access their data, their applications from the device of their choice, all of a sudden now you're a net benefit and it's a thumbs up for IT. And that helps as far as from the level of IT organization management when you're trying to get a professional development budget and other types of things that you need to make your people happy within your organization. Now, where does Parallels come in all this? Well, Parallels has been around for a while. and we've been around for a while in the virtualization game. Many of you probably know us from Parallels Desktop, which is about 11-year-old product that is still the leader in the market that we have, which is running Windows on your Macs. We're the company that's responsible for those Mac devices still hanging onto your Windows-based networks because we have a couple different products that allow your Mac users to run full version Windows and to be managed by Windows applications within your Active Directory infrastructure. We're in 140 countries. Obviously, you can read 20% of the Fortune 500. And on the B2C channel, we have over 7 million individuals daily that are accessing Parallels Desktop to run Windows. And then obviously on the B2B side, we have over 50,000 businesses worldwide that access our enterprise solution. We have a couple different products that are in the virtualization space. Our first, obviously, Parallels Desktop for Mac. We have something called Parallels Access, Parallels Mac Management for Microsoft SCCM if you wanted to manage those Macs within your SCCM infrastructure. We have Parallels Toolbox, but what we're here to talk about here, and I'm going to show you a little bit about how Parallels RAS will meet these objectives we talk about, is our remote application server. And what Parallels RAS is our all-in-one remote application delivery and VDI solution, which provides your end users access to any app, anytime, from anywhere, from any device. So let's talk about how we meet your objectives. Well, when we talk about bringing on Parallels RAS, initially you're talking about increasing that employee satisfaction. As we've already established, employee engagement and morale is going to go up by enabling remote working. 69% of your millennial workforce thinks they don't have to come into the office anyways. So you can go beyond the traditional physical or office-based hour scheme and allow these people to work this way. You're going to get enhanced data security. We can adhere to the data policy compliance such as PCI DSS by efficiently restricting and monitoring access to sensitive data. This obviously allows you to enable business mobility. This increases workforce efficiency. Again, there's those 240 hours extra that people are working just because they're able to access their information. People go on vacation and they turn on their out of office, but all of a sudden they're answering emails from the airport and they're connecting to WebExes, from Kuala Lumpur. And that's what happens. That's the world we live in. I'm not going to give you a value judgment whether it's good or bad. That's what it is. So we've developed a solution set to you to go ahead and manage that process. Flexibility. So this provides you the ability to leverage benefits for on-prem versus cloud, where you can choose, where you can provide seamless UX access, which is important to user experience, across different geographic locations and provide some level of affordable data recovery. And at the end of the day, it's going to meet your market demands because you are going to be ready to respond in real time for planned events such as an M&A or unplanned situations such as disruption to keep the continuity of your operations within your multi-cloud deployments. So from Parallels' perspective, our key benefit straight up, we are an all-in-one solution that delivers, again, applications to any device, anytime, anywhere. We believe we've designed a superior user experience. We provide a seamless and intuitive access to your digital workspaces from any device. Our mobile Parallels client transforms any virtual application into a full-fledged mobile app. If you have an application, there's no need now to develop a mobile app for that application. You just run Parallels RAS and all of a sudden it's running on the mobile application. Your iOS and Android users can also provide things like native gestures to swipe, zoom, tap, and click in order to get that stuff done. We'll talk about that a little later. It's easy to deploy and maintain, right? Specifically when you're dealing with an organization that rhymes with Citrix and you're trying to go from one version to like the latest version, ripping and replacing their solution and putting in RAS takes less time, less energy than actually upgrading from one dot release to another with our major competitors. So it's very easy to deploy and maintain. Again, it provides you that level of enhanced data security. Deploying Parallels RAS reduces the risk of data loss and malicious activity. Again, we support FIPS 140-2 encryption and multi-factor authentication. We provide something we call like the on-demand IT agility. We can provide you an ability to quickly scale your infrastructure. You can address business needs by auto-scaling. You can enable the mixing and matching of different technologies. Hey, you want Windows Server OS, you want hypervisors, you want hyperconverged solutions. You're able to pick and choose, and it provides you again that central management for multi-cloud deployments. And all of this kind of gets the hands around providing you that reduced total cost of ownership, the cost and complexity, streamlining your IT staff workloads and reducing overhead costs. Again, saving those capital expenditures for the projects and the other things that you really want to do within your organization. So let's first talk a little bit about, I said we'd go in a little bit depth into our superior UX, and I want to talk a little bit about it. Again, it is any device, anywhere, anytime. It provides you the capability PC, Macs, thin clients, Linux, Chromebooks, iPads, iPhones, Androids, and any HTML5 browser. So specifically, if you have a legacy application that only runs on Windows, by installing Parallels RAS, the next day you can provide access to every device, every browser, everything out there in a very UX-friendly way. Because if they know how to do it in Windows, they're going to know how to do it in the RAS client. It also provides universal printing and scanning. Anybody that's ever had to do any type of remote printing or anything else knows how difficult that was. I worked for Xerox for years, so I know a little bit about printing. And the ability to give you flexible printing and scanning provides users, again, that kind of happy face end user. Now I can print and scan from anywhere. Remote FX support provides a user with a smooth and detailed and responsive graphical experience, regardless of the video format or the application. And it also facilitates the use of a wider range of USB devices than you may be currently used to. AI-based session pre-launch. Parallels AI analyzes the user login habits to pre-launch sessions, significantly reducing login time while distributing that back-end workload to prevent logon storms during your peak hours. Now listen, we provide white labeling too. So if you want to go ahead and have your HTML5 browser and your Windows devices customizable, we can give your end user a UI with a personalized look and feel and give your organization a touch of that branding that you need in order to get buy-in for your end users to access the application in this new interface. And things like QuickPad, we define custom keys to replace repetitive keystroke sequences. Native gestures, drag, tap to click, zoom in, zoom out. Now you can do those same things you do on an iPhone or an Android, you can do with a Windows application on mobile devices, providing you that local workspace-like experience. Multitasking. You can switch between multiple open files on demand. You can use apps simultaneously on the iPad while doing a slide over and split view on the Parallels RAS iOS client. Extend drag and drop functionality. You can literally drag and drop files from the server to a client and vice versa. Drag files from published resources, applications, and desktops to local Windows and Mac OS workstations. We provide bidirectional audio. IT administrators may enable redirection of sound input from the devices and output from the local device to the remote application, thereby use of a local headset even for a server-based application. Our level of data security provides the capability, again, as we talked about earlier, to improve security by centralizing that data. We can even monitor, control, and restrict data access, providing you a granular filtering rules that can created to restrict users' access to the farm, adding another layer of data protection. We can enforce client policies to any device. See, RAS includes a feature to configure the Parallels client settings. This is known as a client policy. A client policy, obviously, is a set of rules defined by you, the administrator, to manage, control, and restrict the settings options that are available to end users. And we have people that can talk more deep about that, and we also have some KB articles that we can forward you to that. How about managing Windows client in a kiosk mode? As an administrator, you can convert Windows devices running 7, 8, 8.1, and 10 into a secure kiosk-like mode without replacing the operating system. This kiosk mode allows limited users from changing this option limits your users from changing the system settings or installing new applications. This provides you, the administrator, with a higher level of control. And then obviously we have encryption protocols. Our server client encrypts with SSL or FIPS 140-2. the user connections to the farm. We help organizations adhere to data compliance, PCI, DSS, HIPAA, GDPR, all of those things. We provide you the capability, and then smart card and MFA authentication. Second level authentication that can provide you that higher level of protection and access that you require for your specific needs. And again, this can be provided by Azure, Duo, Forti Authenticator, TechRadius, Radius DeepNet. You can talk to our technical people after in order to talk and see if we can go ahead and help you. IT agility. Again, we provide you this level of business readiness. We support, when you're talking about business continuity, we support full active redundancy. This prevents any application server from becoming a single point of failure. Obviously, that reduces the overall, or this improves the application availability overall. We are the one-stop solution for RDS and VDI. We allow your organization to manage both Microsoft RDS and VDI environments within the same infrastructure. This invariably will streamline your IT operations. You can mix and match different OSs and different technologies. Again, it's all about end user satisfaction. So the ability to provide and to mix and match different technologies such as Windows OS, all the different versions, VMware, Nutanix, Acropolis, all these other things allow you that capability. Multi-cloud ready. We provide access within the cloud that's faster, more scalable, and more reliable. You'll have access to corporate applications from virtually anywhere. You can choose either on-prem, hybrid, or public cloud deployments on Azure, AWS, Google Cloud, and more. Lastly, we're hypervisor agnostic, which means independent. RAS is a VDI hypervisor independent solution that will allow your org to mix and match different technologies. Again, Hyper-V, VMware ESX, Nutanix, Scale Computing, Microsoft Azure Hypervisor, all of them we can go ahead and provide you that capability. Well, Derek, this sounds great, but what about, again, deployment? And again, many of our customers that change over from the other guys, initially say the ease of deploying us is ripping and replacing the current solution is much easier than upgrading to the latest version of what they're being asked to upgrade. So we provide a capability for client auto configuration. You can enroll new users and enable access to published applications with a single click. Centralized Management Console. We provide available to pass through a single pane of glass, deploy servers, publish applications, monitor resources, manage devices, even offer help assistance and define security policies, all from one console. Multi-tenancy. This is a big one. Parallels RAS now provides the capability for multi-tenancy. So you can manage multiple farms and monitor multiple farms from just one pane of glass. And then, of course, when you're talking about REST and PowerShell APIs, you can enable the automation of complex and repetitive tasks utilizing these commands, right? You allow the easier integration and scheduling of workflow applications into the Parallels RAS ecosystem. We even have a wizard-based deployment. You can effortlessly publish and manage a wide range of applications and desktops through our wizard. And this automatically generates and deploys configurable RAS templates for both VDI and RDSH. Auto provisioning and auto scaling. It's important for you to go ahead and maintain a high level of access and a high level of availability. So maintaining high and consistent templates or images for your virtual apps is incredibly important. Also for your desktops. And you can do that by monitoring and scaling the on-demand computer resources. We can allow you to dynamically create, remove, release, load balance Windows OS based on predefined criteria, ensuring sudden load spikes are easily managed without manual action. And we reduce costs. I mean, this is basically what this slide is. We reduce complexity because we're very easy to deploy. We provide a super fast learning curve because it's incredibly easy to use. It's minimal knowledge required. Moreover, we provide full Parallels RAS training free of charge. So we're not going to gig you on yet another line item to get training on Parallels RAS. We provide that as part of the solution. There's no expensive add-ons. What you see is what you get. There's no extra version. There's no enterprise version. There's no super duper version. There's no supersizing of Parallels RAS. It's a full-featured, modular, cost-effective application delivery and VDI solution. We don't require third-party add-ons for load balancing, printer redirection, monitoring, or reporting, or a lot more. we are an all-inclusive, oops, we are an all-inclusive single license model. So Parallels RAS enables all the capabilities of an out-of-box solution, providing enterprise range features such as gateways, load balancing, and yes, 24/7 customer support. We're a concurrent user model. So Parallels RAS uses the concurrent user licensing. You can establish any number of collections to RAS as long as the number of users simultaneously accessing RAS does not exceed the number of available users. However, if you're a provider, a service provider, an MSP, an ISV, or something else like that, we also provide what we call the service provider license. Well, not us. Microsoft calls it that, but it's the service provider license agreement, or SPLA. Now, Parallels RAS SPLA model is licensed on a per peak number of concurrent users over a billing period. Well, what does that mean in English? We bill you in arrears. We bill you for the concurrent users that you use in arrears on a monthly basis. So let's say you have 500 users in March. In April, you pay for those 500 users, and then in April, you actually use 300 users. You pay for that in the next month, and so on and so on and so forth. So you're utilizing RAS as you need it. This is wonderful for cyclic and calendar-based organizations. Like if you're a higher education organization or a public school system, this is a perfect solution set for you if you're looking for that. We also provide the ability to manage sub-licensing. So Parallels RAS also supports sub-licensing, allowing your organizations to manage multiple independent keys while retaining centralized consumption information. Our core capabilities, and these are core capabilities, they're all our capabilities because there is no extra special upgraded version of Parallels RAS. So what you see is what you get. And whether it be application and desktop delivery, load balancing, auto provisioning, containerized applications, maybe session pre-launch, or even things we've released in our latest version in 17.1, SAML, multi-tenant architecture, and access to Azure. These are the things that we provide you ease of access and capabilities within Parallels RAS. Now again, I'm a sales guy, and I've been talking for a long time. Don't just take my word for it. We're very happy to have people talk to our customers, read our case studies, watch the videos of the organizations that have taken on Parallels RAS either as their first virtualization solution or as the replacement solution for something that they used to use that no longer works. And we're able to go ahead and bring these companies and organizations into our family of users, and they're incredibly happy and satisfied with what they're doing. And it doesn't matter whether you're healthcare, whether you're education, whether you're another type of organization that is really interested in doing things just like, saving time, or maybe you are deploying Chromebooks and you want the ability to develop, to have an app that's deployed to all your Chromebooks. We provide you that capability and function at a lower cost, at a much easier way to install, access, and support than any other competitor out there that's within the same market. So what are your real takeaways from what we call our intro demo here? Well, Parallels RAS provides help to your org in a couple different ways. We provide a high-performance, intuitive, end user experience that it's necessary for your organization because that's what you're being judged on. The ability for your end users, those people that are knowledge workers with your organization, whether they're salespeople or whether they're engineers, whether they're in shipping, receiving, they're accessing data, applications, and information in the way that makes their job the most profitable for your organization or the most beneficial for your organization. We provide you the ability to be extremely agile and to support a centralized architecture that supports RDSH and VDI from on-prem, hybrid, or even public clouds. And security. At the end of the day, we help you reduce the risk of data loss and malicious activity by doing what virtualization does best, preventing the unauthorized access to application and data by centralizing it, by protecting it, by allowing you in IT to get your arms around what you need to in order to protect your end users from that big bad world out there that's trying to get into your data. So what are the next steps if you're really interested in really kind of taking a look inside the hood? Well, we have a second demo that runs on a weekly basis, and this was a webinar. What we have is an actual demo where it's not a sales guy talking a lot of value proposition and talking to you about the solution. It's really a look inside the application. We run a session, and for an hour, we're able to show you exactly how we do things like client management, how we do things like scripts, how you're able to provide granular permissions, and we do that on a demo basis. We have a weekly demo, and we'll go ahead and provide the people that registered for this intro demo or this intro webinar access the ability to register for that demo. But if you can't wait and you're interested in really taking a look, you can go ahead and reach out to the email I'll be sending everybody on this call, and you can schedule a demonstration for your own organization with us here. And then after the demonstration, we don't just give you pricing and walk away. One of the things we're really interested in is looking at a proof of concept for your organization. We know either you're looking at virtualization for the very first time, or you already have something that you're using that you're interested in replacing. And we want to provide you the ability to have a proof of concept where you can not only discuss the requirements with us of what you need, but you can start testing immediately. And we have a couple different ways to do that. You can do that on-prem. You can do that via a session on Azure or AWS. There's a multitude of different ways that you can go ahead and do that. But those are kind of the next steps as far as we move forward with Parallels RAS. With that, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for questions for people here that have. So if you do have a question, you can feel free to submit one via chat, and I have the resources here that are able to go ahead and yeah. And so we have here, let's see, oh, looks like we have a couple questions. So what I'm going to do is I have an individual on the line. Let's see. Let's see here. I'm looking. First question. Good morning. I would like to learn more about your product. Whom should I contact? Okay, so I have your name, Fidon, and we'll be able to go ahead and reach out to you directly. And you have an account. We're based on we have an international sales and sales engineering team. So in your geography, there is a person and people that are responsible for your geographic area that will go ahead and reach out to you after this call here in order to go ahead and do that. Looks here. It's looking for background, currently using Citrix and want to explore different solutions. Yes, we can definitely provide that capability as well. If anyone has any specific technical questions that they'd like answered, we do have some people on the line that can do that as well. If you'd like to, I can have that chat open. Here's a you talked a lot, Derek. How much does it cost? That's a good question. So what you're really looking at from us is from a manufacturer's retail price. You're looking at about $99 a concurrent user, right out of out of the box for Parallels RAS, and that's all in. So we start about 15 users, and that's for a yearly subscription. And that's what it is. And there's no extra training budget, extra this, extra that, extra the other thing. It's all encompassed into that. So if you've got 1,000 users, concurrent users, if you've got 500 concurrent users, that's one way we go ahead and bill it. If you're interested, if you're an MSP or ISV and you're interested in that monthly kind of in arrears SPLA model, we can have a conversation about that offline as well, because we have a different pricing structure for that kind of hosted capability. But that's kind of it. And so, do we buy off the website or we do go direct? So there's a couple different ways you can deal with us here at Parallels for RAS. We have some direct capabilities in what we call quote to cart and a couple other ways. We also work with your current resellers as well. So if you're dealing with SHI or CDW or Insight right now, and that's where you buy all those servers and you buy all that hardware that you got to install, we can go ahead and help you replace all that through your current vendor right now. So simply picking up the phone or shooting your SHI rep an email and saying, hey, talk to me about Parallels remote application server will get you engaged with us there. Any other questions? Well, I'd like to thank you all for spending that time with me today. I really do appreciate it. All of you on this call will be getting an email from me thanking you for your time and inviting you to see our deep dive, peek behind the curtain, how does RAS actually work demonstration, deep dive demonstration, and then give you opportunities to talk to our sales team and our other parts of our organization about potentially trialing. Thanks a lot for taking the time to talk with us today. Appreciate it. Please have a wonderful week and have a wonderful rest of winter if that's possible. Thanks again. Have a great day.